In 2016, the Virginia legislature, supported by Senator Normand, awarded a contract to the Virginia Air and Space Center to conduct research on STEM education. The primary objective of the research was to answer questions regarding the level and kinds of resources needed at the 4th through 5th grade levels to successfully improve STEM scores, foster intellectual engagement and curiosity, as well as career awareness and understanding. This project was completed in June 2018 and has now been renewed to Phase 2 in order to repeat and validate the conclusions which have been published and can be accessed on the Virginia Air and Space Center website, www.vasc.org/STEM360. We thank Senator Normand, Delegate Jones, and the Governor for their continued support of this important project.
The idea of STEM 360 originated when I started to contemplate the decline in school trips because of school budgets. Its origins really went back to limited resources. It was the economist in me that was really screaming out about why we needed to be able to leverage additional assets that were in the community that were underutilized and that were rich assets. What kid doesn't want to go to a zoo or an aquarium or to a botanical garden or to any type of activity that engages them and stimulates their senses and curiosity? These kinds of experiences needed to be reincorporated into the DNA of the thinking about how we approach and get children curious about becoming lifelong learners, or particularly interested in what they might want to do with their lives, for that matter. And it translates into higher scores, and we've known that.
Well, there's a lot of research that supports this proposition, but it's all fragmented. So there's research that shows that if you can improve the quality of schooling, kids do better. There's research that shows that if you can get parents more involved, kids do better. There's research that shows that if you can get kids engaged in out-of-school, free choice, informal learning experiences like at the Air and Space Center, things improve. And there's also research that shows that if you provide mentors, things improve. But nobody's ever put them together. And the problem is, if you do each of these things individually, if you're lucky, you'll get incremental improvements. But if you really want to substantially and transformationally change the system, you need to deal with it as a whole system. And STEM 360 is designed to think systemically, to design this whole system of the lives of kids and change them.
So we've taken all of the components that people like Dr. John Falk have been investigating all these years, and we've bundled them together and said, okay, if we do all of these things, can we make a very statistical difference in outcomes and let them understand that they have a future and they have choices to make?
As superintendent, I agree with Dr. Falk and his research regarding free choice learning, in which he says the ultimate goal of free choice learning is to create the passion and opportunities for lifelong learning. Additionally, I agree that we want our young people to become self-motivated learners and inspired in such ways that they discover the joy of learning. And so when you think of the free choice learning environment like the Virginia Air and Space Center, it's so important that our young people have access to these opportunities whereby they can deepen their knowledge and also make relevant connections as to what's going on in the classroom. This has been true not only for our young people in Hampton, but also for each of the participating school divisions.
Kids are learning differently today, and therefore we have to change the way we teach them. And it's really about creating an experience matrix, working with the school divisions closely, synergistically, looking at where the weaknesses are, really drilling down what needs to be done to bridge those gaps, and then designing the experiences so that they all intertwine and flow back.
Whether it's at the Botanical Garden or whether it's the Virginia Zoo, to actually see the animals, it reinforces their knowledge, what they've learned in the classroom, but learned maybe with a picture or a slide. But here, where they actually had the opportunity to personally experience, to touch, to connect the dots in a sense, and that's a lot of what this is for them. I think that helps them retain it. I think it stimulates their interest for sure.
A lot of the times we have this aha moment that you see in the child's face when the teacher is teaching something, And then they get to see the kids go, oh yeah, Mr. Crosby said that, or we saw that at the museum. So there's a lot of positive influence of being able to go and experience those abstract concepts that they're learning in a textbook. So every time they make a connection, their brain is just holding on to that information just a little bit tighter than it would have without the experience.
At this age, these students want to tell you everything they know. But the great thing about them is they're all natural scientists. They all want to ask why. They have answers, they may not be right, they're willing to express them to you, and they're very excited. They want to know about this stuff. That's the fun of it.
Asking any typical 4th and 5th grader what they want to be when they grow up, you get football player, basketball player, actress, and singer. So the fact that different occupations and careers and just different avenues of thinking were brought into their lives through the STEM 360 program has opened huge doors for these kids.
Kids these days have a harder time finding out what it's like to be any profession. There are some internships for older high school students and college students, but before that, how do you get a chance to find out what it's like to do science? You don't. You kind of think you have this idea because you admire somebody. I mean, I've had the personal experience. I can talk about it, I can show them about it, and pick up on where their interest is and see if I can stimulate them to consider it and think more about it. The goal of the program is to increase knowledge of science and awareness of science and interest in science.
There is a huge element to having a mentor in a child's life, and we're having some great experiences, wonderful testimonies that are coming out of what's happening with the kids and their interaction with their STEM coaches, their increased awareness going into STEM fields, the relationship that's evolved.
We designed it as a research study so that we could, in fact, not only do good things, but we could demonstrate and prove to people that doing these good things actually makes a statistically significant difference in children's interest, in their knowledge and understanding, and in fact, in their awareness of careers and the possibilities they have to be better citizens in the 21st century.
We had a chance to look through the window and see where they were preparing the diets. Zoo medicine and maintaining a zoo, ranging from veterinarians that specialize in zoo animals to architects that build the exhibits and the people that care for them on a daily basis.
I'm interested in doing biology and zoology when I grow up, so I can find out how chameleons change color, how a gecko stays on the wall, and more about what's going on in your body, what's happening there.
I've also learned how to code. I might want to make video games, be an animator.
I would be probably an engineer because I love making stuff. It's just something really cool I love to do.
If you're dealing with electricity and it's a hurricane or something and the power goes out, you have to be the one to fix it, and you can save a lot of people's lives.
It seems to me that we will not be successful unless we tap back into what literally in many communities are hundreds of millions of dollars worth of assets. Zoos are very expensive things not only to build, but they're expensive to operate. And in this area, we have an abundance of wonderful facilities. So this research study, in a way, is not only about the Virginia Air and Space Center, it's about all of those free choice learning environments that exist in Hampton Roads that can be leveraged by school systems and by parents to help their children be successful in their life choices.
I believe the Virginia Air and Space Center is an absolute gem and a bridge in helping young people to bring together content and hands-on experiences in a meaningful way. We're so appreciative of this enriching opportunity for Hampton City schools and our young people. And so it's important as a next step to really talk about how we can, as a school division, and how we can, as superintendents within the region, expand this learning for all young people.
We have had an excellent partnership. I feel that every time we have had any questions or concerns, they have been right there to answer them. We have had a very fun working relationship with them, and they have really done such a good job of caring for our kids.
Well, as STEM coach, I'm available to the teacher, to the students, to the parents, to answer their questions. So when they ask about space and the space program and things like that, I refer to NASA and drag somebody in to help answer the question, which is a thrill for them too, that they're actually getting an expert in the field answering.
I think we are identifying and meeting the needs and aspirations of parents because we're aligning ourselves closely with the school divisions. We're partnering, we're working together with the school divisions, understanding where the weaknesses are, where those gaps may be, where we need to inspire kids a little more.
By playing this leadership role, the Virginia Air and Space Center helps to define in the minds of the community that it is not merely a nice place, but an essential place, that it is not merely a supporter of what goes on in this community, it is a leader. If we can show that this is a significant project in this first 2 years, we need to replicate this study and do it again and see if we get the same results from a new group of kids, to lay the foundation to say, well, this is a blueprint for how you change the quality of education, not just in Virginia, but nationally.
This is really a bipartisan issue, and we are so proud as the Virginia Air and Space Center to be able to support both parents and school systems with the political leadership in our community, as well as the state, and we're very glad to accept the kinds of support and encouragement that we've been receiving in this really magnificent project.
I'm interested in doing biology and zoology when I grow up, so like I can find out how chameleons change color, how a gecko stays on a wall.
I would be probably an engineer because I love making stuff.
I've also learned how to code. I might want to make video games, be an animator.